Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was a Perverted Seal Master Part 4. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Alarm clocks were annoying to Naruto. It was loud, and the screen was bright and ugly. He found waking up to one jarring but realized modern life did not allow one to simply awaken naturally. People had to keep to their schedules and get things done. He used Fuinjutsu to solve the problem, as he often did. Naruto made a seal that would work like waking up in the morning. The seal is on a timer, and the process starts an hour before Naruto is supposed to wake up. Naruto was able to finish it with the help of Tsunade-sensei and Shizune-senpai, since the seal controlled the chemicals in the brain and the temperature of the body. Even though they gave him permission to use it, the two senior medics still wanted to test it before they used it on people who couldn't heal quickly. The Uzumaki agreed because they could see why they should be careful. Even though Naruto liked this way of waking up much better than the old way, the seal doesn't naturally get used to sleeping over. So, at 4 o'clock, Naruto was awake and alert while his guests were still sleeping peacefully. Most of the time, it wasn't a big deal if Haku slept over because she didn't have a tight grip on him. But Hinata-chan must have turned around at some point because the Hyuga heiress held on to him very tightly. Naruto thought that she probably got cold last night. He didn't mind that she held him so tightly, but it was hard for him to get away. Hinata didn't like getting up early, and she'd be the first to admit it. She would let herself do things like sleep in and eat cinnamon rolls. He didn't want to anger his friend or start her day off bad. He thought that maybe he should just stay. Haku was cold and soothing, like a sip of iced tea on a hot day. Hinata-chan was gentle. Both of them smelled really nice. Naruto made a small frown. He wasn't used to not knowing what to do in this way. His Oji-san always told him that discipline is discipline and that good habits take a lifetime to make but only a day to break. He should have gotten up to start his work. But cool sips of iced tea as he laid on a soft blanket in a meadow of wildflowers tried to convince him otherwise. Naruto inhaled deeply. He knew what he had to do, but he would still ask his Oji-san why he hesitated, even if it was just for a moment. Now that he was sure, Naruto started thinking about how to get out of bed without waking up Hinata-chan. There was nothing nearby that could be used as a good substitute. Maybe if he could make a copy of himself out of shadow and have it take his place. Naruto brushed that off quickly because he had never done the jutsu without a seal, but he was going to change that. He'd also never tried with another person and didn't know the effects of it. Both physically and mentally, the Uzumaki was stuck, but he didn't panic. Naruto broke his problem into parts that were easier to handle. He needed Hinata-chan to let him go without waking up. At the same time, he had to get out of bed. The first problem, then, was Hinata-chan's hug. Naruto thought for a moment, then put medical chakra on his left hand. The blonde thought that if Hinata-chan's muscles relaxed, she would let go of him and he could get away. Naruto ran his fingers slowly and gently up and down Hinata-chan's back. He also made a small circle with his fingers at times. As Naruto had predicted, the Hyuga's grip did start to loosen, but he wasn't ready for the soft moans that came out of her mouth. He briefly thought again if he should just stay, but then he decided against it. Hinata-chan quickly moved one of her arms to her side. Naruto quickly finished his move and then slid up and over his best friend. He whipped his leg over her just as she rolled over to Haku. He stopped for a moment, then left the room when he saw that she was still sleeping. Making a clone to attend to breakfast, Naruto sat at his desk. Because he was always busy, he didn't get to do as much Fuinjutsu work in person, but he liked to plan out his day before his daily training. He couldn't work on his long-term goals until he learned the Hiraishin, but he could do other things. First, Naruto was looking for ways to improve his offensive ninjutsu. The idea he came up with was what he called emitter discs. The discs would be slightly larger than a shuriken with bladed edges containing seals to make chakra flow easier. In the middle of the disc would be a housing made of metal that would hold a multi-function seal. This would let Naruto make his targets explode, shock, or get a concussion. He also had some other ideas, but it was a little hard to fit multiple fully functional and separate arrays into one matrix. He thought it would take his clones most of the morning to finish. The next thing the Uzumaki thought about was his business. Naruto had a lot of ideas for the consumer market, but civilians couldn't use chakra, which was one problem. Naruto had been thinking about how to make his products easier for people to use, since the seals can be opened without chakra, but they still need chakra to work, and their initial charge runs out. Naruto considered several possibilities. He toyed with the idea of a chakra battery and a subscription service to charge it, but he killed that idea, at least partially. Chakra was dangerous, and giving it to someone who didn't know much about it put them in danger. Instead, Naruto thought about how to use electricity to power the seals. In the plans that the seal master made, there would be an adapter that could charge the products without ever having to plug them in. When the products ran out of power, the seals would just take power from the charger. Naruto even made plans for adapters to be made for a certain number of seals. For example, not all adapters could charge 10 different seals at the same time, but some could. Naruto knew that this would have an effect, and that the main one would be to put more stress on Konoha's electric grid. When Naruto thought about that problem, he came up with his third plan. Infrastructure and safety were always the most important things in hidden villages. Naruto wondered if they could protect their power grid by making it so spread out that no one could attack it all at once. Naruto wanted to make seals that could use energy from the sun to make electricity. Naruto got the idea from the natural energy in Anko-chan's seal and how the toad oil could channel it. If he could make such a seal, the resource would be renewable, and the best part is that the seals could be put on the trees in Konoha's vast forests, on the buildings themselves, or on a device made just for that purpose. People could put seals on their batteries to keep the power they don't use from going to waste, and the best part is that no one would have to know where the real source of power was. Threats could leave the old plants alone, giving them a target that wasn't as valuable as they thought. Last, Naruto wrote down Haku's lesson plan for the day, just like he did every morning. Her calligraphy was already good, so in a few weeks she would probably be able to draw simple seals. She was also very smart, so she was able to understand a lot of the theory in the beginning. Naruto did what his Oji-san told him to do and tried not to talk too quickly or give her too much information. Haku was very patient, so his clones did their best even though it was hard. Naruto sat down at the table to eat a light breakfast of oatmeal with berries, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and some green tea. He had already made plans for the day. While the clone cleaned up, Naruto ate his meal in silence. Once he was done, Naruto went back to his room to get a change of clothes. He changed in the bathroom and then went to his workout. When he went outside, the air was cool and he could see his breath. Naruto put on his resistance seals and made them a little stronger than the day before. He then ran away. The wind blew through his hair as he ran across the roofs. Naruto liked to run in the morning. He had liked running ever since he was a boy. As he went from the center of the village to the training grounds, he moved faster and faster and changed levels. Being able to not think about anything but still be aware and ready to act if needed. It was quiet. As Naruto moved quickly toward it, he could see something off in the distance. As he got closer, he saw that it was a person he hadn't expected to see. Naruto slowed down to a light jog and stopped right in front of the person. Hitaki-sensei, Naruto greeted. Naruto-kun, he said back while putting his book away with a smile. I wasn't sure when to expect you since you had guests stay the night. How did it go? It was a good time. I bet there should be 3 girls in your apartment. 4, Hitaki-sensei. There were 4, Naruto said. Even better, Kakashi replied. So, tell me, what are you doing here? Oh, I got lost on the road of life and thought I'd stay here in case you came by. I think I owe you some Doten Jutsu, yes? Ah, yes. Good, now I'll change our deal a little. One of the jutsus I'm going to teach you is C rank, but someone else is coming over to teach you another. The 2 I'm giving you will help you do the 3rd. Since we hadn't agreed on anything before, I accept the change in good faith, Naruto said as he held out his hand. Kakashi didn't think twice about shaking it. Kakashi said, great, now make some clones and split them into 2 groups. He then made a shadow clone of himself. Naruto did the same thing and made 9 shadow clones. Kakashi told the Chibi army, okay, real Naruto and group 1 of his clones, come with me. I'll teach you the Earth style, Earth Flow River, and my clone will teach group 2 the Earth style, tearing Earth turning palm. He did the Earth technique slowly, pausing between each hand sign, and then explained how the chakra should be shaped and sent to the feet. The Narutos listened carefully, and Kakashi thought he could feel his sensei's blue eyes on him again, taking in every detail, noting every flaw, and making plans to use them in ways no one would ever expect. Kakashi just stood back and watched as his students worked hard to learn the 2 new jutsu. First, they all went through the hand signs slowly at first, but they got faster as they went. Then, they tried to send it chakra. Once they saw that something was happening, they tried using more or less to see what happened. 45 minutes into the practice, the special guest, who was not named, finally showed up. Jiraiya asked Kakashi and Naruto as he came up to them, "God, do you really get up this early every day, kid?" Naruto had trouble seeing the man. He didn't know how he felt about Jiraiya because he had never been angry with anyone, but he thought the man had been rude. Jiraiya looked at Naruto's face and thought that it meant his godson was still mad at him. "Hey, before you yell at me, just let me talk, okay?" Naruto nodded, not bothering to correct the man. "I overreacted. You were right, I don't want you to adjust the seal. I am afraid that if you do, you will hurt yourself in the village. I should have told you that instead of delaying your ability to remove Anko's seal. I'll talk to her later to apologize." Again, Naruto nodded. It was the same as he had thought. He didn't make sense. His Oji-san once told him about sentimentality, saying that love or affection can change how someone sees things. Naruto asked if that meant that feelings shouldn't be a part of making decisions, and his Oji-san said that was also wrong. He said that it wasn't emotion itself that stopped people from thinking logically, but the inability to weigh emotions against other things or facts. His Oji-san told him that people have feelings and that ignoring that fact would be like ignoring the fact that the sky is blue. Naruto asked, "What will you be teaching me today?" Naruto tilted his head and asked, "So, we're good?" He had no idea what the Sannin was looking for. "Yes." Jiraiya did his hand signs quickly and watched as the training ground turned into a mud pit. "This is the Earth style, swamp of the underworld," Jiraiya said, turning around to see 10 Narutos stroking their chins. "I can put this to good use," it said in the original. Kakashi gave his student a thumbs up, and Jiraiya wondered if he just accepted that the next time he made the kid mad, he'd be stuck in his own jutsu. Hiruzen sat in his office and watched his grandson train. He wondered if most of his ninja just didn't have any common sense. He told Jiraiya how to make up with Naruto by telling him to be honest and straight with his godson or, if he couldn't, to make a deal. He didn't say at all to teach a 12-year-old a rank ninjutsu. But Jiraiya's overindulgence only made things worse because his Anbu commander, 2 advisors, and Danzo were all in his office bothering him. The fact that they started a conversation they'd already had made it even more annoying. His Anbu commander said, "Sandame-sama is wasting his time as a genin. He got rid of the cursed seal, which we all thought was impossible. That should be enough to get him a promotion." People at the top of the village had heard that Naruto was good at sealing, but a lot of what would make a seal master gasp in amazement was just too advanced for others. Many of his ninja thought the Fuin bracelets were cool, but they didn't know how hard it was to make them. But people notice when you do the impossible, even if they don't know how. Even if it were, he wouldn't join Anbu when he became Chunin. He will never be an Anbu, Hiruzen said with certainty. The longtime Hokage was willing to let Naruto choose his own path, but he would never let his grandson join the elite group as long as he was still alive. Kakashi says he's old enough and has the right attitude for it, and with his sealing ability, his main job could be as a teacher, with the occasional mission, the commander said. Naruto-kun doesn't need to be in a situation that makes him want to hide his feelings, which is what Anbu does. He's making friends now, and I don't want his progress to be slowed down or stopped. Kaharu said, "Hiruzen, you're thinking like a grandfather, not like a Hokage. His skills could be put to better use, and Team 7 could find someone else who could better balance them." Sasuke, Naruto, and even Kakashi were all VIPs as far as the village was concerned, and it irked Kaharu they were all on one team. If something went wrong on a mission, there would be a lot of potential lost. This worry was taken care of by quickly and quietly promoting Naruto and then sending him somewhere else. There was another reason she didn't want Naruto on Team 7, but she wouldn't say what it was yet. "I am both of those things and more. I don't just put them on, Kaharu. But what you don't seem to understand is that I am thinking about the village and what's best for it. Anbu is limited by its nature. I am proud of all my agents, but they aren't encouraged to interact with the outside world. Naruto's many achievements are, at least in part, due to him being able to do just that." "Maybe there's a way to make a deal," said Homura, who was always the peacemaker of the group of 4. "It is the consensus that regardless of if you will or not, Naruto-kun is deserving of rank other than genin. The Chunin exams are fast approaching, so it is understandable you'd want him to participate in them. It is also the case that the team is unbalanced. Maybe, while we assign a different genin from the other teams to sub in with Team 7, We put Naruto-kun on a different team. One led by Jiraiya. Kaharu said, but who would be on his team? We can't just pull Genin from the reserve, because then they wouldn't be balanced. Why? The former apprentice of the Demon of the Mist and Danzo's student. They both know Naruto-kun and are close to his overall skill level, even surpassing him in some ways. They won't be put off by his fast rate of growth or his unique personality. Jiraiya could train them well, making sure Naruto's Chunin exam performance will be the showpiece you want it to be, Homura said. Hiruzen asked, Danzo? Because he wanted to know what the former root commander thought. This is the next best thing if you're not going to promote him or give him a new permanent team. Kakashi will make sure they can still work as a team for the exams. Okay, I'll tell Jiraiya later today, the third Fire Shadow said. Is there anything else? He asked. The commander said, please bring desserts back to the Anbu dining hall. Denied, said Hiruzen, and the commander fell down in defeat. Naruto went straight to the hospital after his training with Hitaki-sensei and Jiraiya. He worked at Konoha's main clinic and could clean up in the locker room for staff. Naruto slipped in unnoticed, shower and changed. He liked to wear orange most of the time, but Ino-chan told him he couldn't wear orange every day, and Hinata-chan said the color might make his patients nervous because orange meant danger was close. He gave in and wore hunter green long-sleeved V-neck t-shirt and navy blue pants. Naruto wore a white lab coat to finish off the outfit. When Naruto wore that outfit to the hospital for the first time, and when he went to study and help patients for the first time without a henge, he scared the senior staff. No matter how biased they were, they couldn't ignore the small version of a famous ninja who wore the same colors and had the same hair and eyes. Several experienced medical ninja ran to Tsunade to find out for sure. They didn't expect to be in a meeting with Tsunade, the Sandame, and a platoon of Anbu behind closed doors. The Hokage didn't confirm anything, but he did say that if what they thought was true, it would be an S-rank secret, and if they shared an S-rank secret without knowing it, they could still be killed. No one on the staff was brave enough to ask more. Naruto didn't know about the session or how what he wore affected it. People did look at him with strange faces, but when he caught them doing it, they smiled instead of turning away. They also talked more than he was used to, but he didn't mind because he liked hearing people talk. Naruto walked into his exam room after checking in and letting the staff know he was ready to see patients. At first, it was hard for the Uzumaki to do their jobs at the clinic. People often didn't explain their problems well, didn't give him the whole story, or waited until he was about to send them away to tell him what was really wrong. Tsunade-sensei complained about doorknob questions when he said the last thing. She and Shizune taught him how to make his patients feel more at ease and how to connect the dots, since people who needed help often didn't know what was important and what wasn't. He had made some small steps forward, but there was still a long way to go. The young medic's best trait was that he didn't judge people based on what other people might find embarrassing. Since he didn't have to work hard to not feel ashamed, his patients didn't feel like he was judging them. Naruto looked around his exam room to make sure everything was in order, and then he did nothing but wait. Soon, she heard a knock on the door and saw two women she knew walk in. Blue eyes stared without emotion at Brown and Red. The eyes of both women widened though for different reasons. Anko had just put something together, just like the medical staff had done a few days before. Kurenai was embarrassed because Uzumaki-kun was taking care of her. She should have really just stayed in bed. 45 minutes before their arrival at the hospital, Kurenai awoke with a searing headache and pronounced feeling of nausea. The room was spinning, and she thought that if she moved too quickly, she would fall off the planet. It was clear that she had again eaten too much. Kurenai took a few deep breaths and fought through her pain before she realized she wasn't in her bed, so she wasn't at home. She knew she couldn't be with Asuma because the room didn't smell like tobacco or sandalwood. That left one person, and Kurenai hoped her friend wouldn't do what she knew she would do. Anko yelled, "This is your glorious wake-up call from the hot and single Anko Mitarashi, sweet cheeks." When Kurenai winced in pain, Anko laughed. Good, thought the snake mistress. Her friend had to learn not to drink so much. Kill me now, begged Kurenai, making Anko laugh softly. Now, why on earth would I do that? Mercy. I haven't had that since my balls fell out. Kurenai said, Anko, you don't have those. You're a lady, don't you remember? Anko-chan may be a beautiful woman, but she's never been a lady, get it? Asked Anko, pumping her fist in the air. Kurenai just put the blanket over her head, hoping that Anko would leave and let her die in peace. When the Genjutsu mistress felt the mattress sink a little when Anko joined her, she knew she wouldn't be so lucky. Kurenai begged Anko to leave her alone. No can do, toots. I have one more day off and I want to spend it with my sister from another mister. Which means we have to get you dried out in a hurry. Kurenai said. Fine, just let me take a shower and borrow some clothes. Anko firmly nodded and stepped out of her bedroom. Even though it took a long time, Kurenai was able to take a shower and change. Even made it to the clinic at the hospital without losing her lunch, which didn't exist. Since they are Junin, they are seen a little faster, which they both liked, but Kurenai liked it the most. When she walked into the exam room and saw Uzumaki-kun looking at her, she changed her mind. How can I help you today? Naruto asked, causing each of the veteran kunoichi to realize they hadn't fully entered the room yet. Anko took a seat next to Kurenai as she walked to the exam table. Anko said, Kurenai-chan had too much to drink last night and needs help getting over it. Kurenai gave her a dark look, but the special Junin just shrugged. There are places where you have to drink alcohol. I should tell OJ-san about this because it could be bad for public health, Naruto said as he got a drink from a cold storage unit. No, Uzumaki-kun, it wasn't required. No one made me do it. Anko was just being colorful when she talked about it. Naruto didn't turn around, but Kurenai heard him hum and thought that meant he understood. Once the blonde had everything he needed, he put the drink and 2 pills in a paper cup on the table. The drink will fix your dehydration, and the pills will help with your headache. Are you still a little drunk, Yuhi-sensei? No, I'm just sick, she said. Naruto nodded and then made 3 hand signs, which made his left hand glow green. He put it on Kurenai's stomach, and the Team 8 sensei felt her symptom go away right away. Kurenai smiled while saying, Thank you, Uzumaki-kun. Thank you, Yuhi-sensei, Naruto said. Is there anything else I can do for you today? Kurenai nodded. Anko, however, had a question. Hey, Chibi, if you can make her feel better when she's sick, why not also fix her headache? One of a medical ninja's jobs is to keep a tight hold on how much chakra they suspend. I don't know how many patients I'll see before my shift is over, so I treat some ailments with drugs. People don't usually throw up because of headaches, but they do a lot when they're sick, so it made sense to take care of the one that might make a mess. That makes a lot of sense. One last question. Do you know where either your sensei or Jiraiya is? The floating leaf hot springs, Naruto said. Anko grabbed Kurenai as she ran out of the exam room, and Kurenai barely had time to finish her drink. Anko helped Kurenai get out of the hospital, and then he did a quick shunshin and moved in near the hot springs. Anko kept pulling Kurenai along by the wrist, but the red-eyed Junin finally had enough and broke Anko's hold. What the heck is wrong with you, Anko? I think I know something about Chibi, but there are only a few people that can confirm it. Kakashi and Jiraiya would be on that list. Now, come on. Kurenai was tempted to refuse but let her curiosity override the impulse. Jiraiya and Kakashi were both easy to find because they were hiding in some bushes and laughing like schoolgirls. Anko called out, Yo, Kakashi. To get the man's attention. He and Jiraiya left the bush, both of them tense because they expected to get hit. Anko saw what was going on and laughed at it. I'm not here to beat your perverted asses, but I do have a question about your student. Oh, which one? I have 3, Kakashi said with a smile. Hitaki is the only one I don't care about. Now stop being funny and one of you put up a privacy barrier, Jiraiya said. The Toad Sage looked at the dog summoner for a moment, confused, but then he did as Jiraiya said. Okay, Anko-chan, you can talk now. What is it about Naruto? I'll get right to the point. Is he Yandaime's son? Anko started, but she couldn't finish because Kakashi had a kunai stuck in her right lung, making his smile look even more like a hunter's. Both kunoichi were on edge, but Kurenai was still in the dark. Ma, Anko-chan, Kakashi said as Jiraiya was palming his face. Haim needs to make that kid change his damn hospital uniform, Jiraiya grumbled. Still a little confused, Kurenai did her best to figure out what was going on. She had to think hard for a few minutes, and the hangover fog really made it hard for her to see what Anko had seen. When she did, she gasped. No, that's not. Kurenai didn't finish her thought or couldn't because she was thinking of too many things at once. She wondered how different he would be if people had known, or if he would have lived long enough for it to matter. Anko asked Kakashi as he finally took the kunai from her, is that why he was able to remove Orochimaru's seal from me? I can't answer that. I don't know how much of his sealing talent is inherited or caused by his condition or whatever. You two have found out what is quickly becoming the second worst kept secret in the village, Jiraiya said in an annoyed tone. Kakashi said, we knew it would happen someday. We can't stop him from growing, and we can't stop him from wearing Konoha's colors. He'd been okay with sending the hospital staff on a long vacation, but the Sandaime vehemently refused. Kakashi knew that since two people can only keep a secret if one of them dies, word would soon get out that Naruto was obviously Minato-sensei's son. I know, damn it. I was counting on the villagers and ninja to keep up their impressive streak of sincere stupidity and save him. Hey! Anko shouted in protest but clammed up at Jiraiya's hard look. Jiraiya said, you've seen the kid a few times. He took off a seal that was almost impossible to take off, and you only noticed the resemblance because the Gaki was almost in a Yondaime Hokage costume. Neither Kunoichi could argue with that. Before Kurenai spoke, there was almost a minute of silence. Well, Hinata-chan certainly has good taste, Kurenai said with a laugh, breaking the tension between the four of them. Hinata-chan? Asked Ino, who was sleeping next to Naruto in his bed. Yes, Ino-chan, replied Hinata from the same place. Can we just stay here? For forever? Ino asked, and the Yamanaka wasn't sure if she was joking or not. She hadn't spent much time in Naruto's apartment, and she'd never stayed the night there. She didn't know how comfortable and convenient the place was. Towels that heat themselves and heated floors. The sheets had a high thread count and smelled like citrus and warm spices. Oh, and best yet, a clone that can cook for you, clean up after you, and probably could totally kick ass if you needed to. I don't think your dad, your clan, or Naruto-kun would let that happen, Ino-chan. Oha, then I may have to steal him from you. Sorry in advance, Ino replied. But what about your good friend Sasuke-kun? Would you leave him so carelessly for a little comfort? That'd be shallow, wouldn't it? Very, said the heiress of the Hyuga family. Well, what about all the work I've done? What other boys our age know how to shop with a woman, or will let her pick out clothes for them without complaining, or can dance? I've done a lot of work here. Hinata said, and I thank you, but Ino was too deep in her thoughts to notice. He's going to be a doctor, and who doesn't want to date a doctor? Hinata said, you're getting lost in the thread count, Ino-chan. Come back to me, back to reality. Both girls laughed at Hinata's call. Fine, fine. I'm back. Also, you're right, my heart is with Sasuke-kun. It stinks. I've liked him for so long, I've been friends with Shikamaru and Choji for years, and I think Naruto-kun has paid more attention to me in the few months we've been friends than any of the others. Give it time, Ino-chan. I'm sure Sasuke-kun will notice you eventually, Hinata told her. Yes, I'm not going to lose to Forehead, Ino said. Yes, I'll take you away from him, she said. Yes, but what? Hinata began to relentlessly tickle Ino as she said, it's fate, Ino-chan. You can't fight fate. The heiress of Yamanaka tried to fight off her friend, but her moves didn't work. Hinata's attack stopped not because Ino begged her to stop, but because they heard a loud bang from outside the bedroom. Both got out of bed quickly, as befitting their status. When they walked into the main room, Tenten had her head on the table, and a copy of Naruto was rubbing her back. Hinata asked with worry, what's wrong, Tenten-chan? Oh, it's just a technique I spent months learning and perfecting, but Naruto improves it in like 5 minutes. She said she'd make more puppy chow if I did, the clone said. The other clones, who were all reading books about electrical engineering, nodded in agreement. Ino asked Naruto, oh, what did you do, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at Tenten as if he needed permission. The Team 9 Kunoichi nodded, and Naruto quickly explained the original technique before talking about how he had changed it. So, the projectiles can focus on a specific chakra signature for a short time and distance with just a few extra parts. I didn't know you could do something like that, said Ino. The clone said, well, recording a chakra signature isn't new, and it only took a few steps to make an object track that signature. It's pretty simple. Tenten had to fight the urge to grab her hair and yell that if it were that easy, she'd have done it already. But she was going to do what Ino told her and put it in a mental box that she would label, Naruto things. The trio of Kunoichi continued to talk about things as the Naruto clones studied until they were interrupted by a knock at the door. When one of the clones opened it, he saw someone he didn't expect. Hello, Mizuki-san, the clone said. The Chunin replied, I think you mean Mizuki-sensei, Uzumaki. No, I don't like or respect you enough for that. What can I do for you? Mizuki sneered at the little demon's answer, fighting the urge to hit him. Mizuki started to say, it's about Konohamaru, but he took a step back when the demon came toward him. I will explain on the way, so come with me now. I'm a clone. I'll tell the original, and he'll meet you at the academy, where you need to give a full account of what happened right away. The sentence ended when the door shut, and Mizuki bit back a few curses as he went back to the academy. Mizuki didn't notice the kunoichi in Naruto's apartment staring at her with steely eyes or the Yuki watching from above with a cruel smile. When they got back to the hospital, the original got the clone's memories. He made Wonsa that he could stay at the hospital and tell the check-in station that he had to leave. The attendant gave him permission and Naruto Shunshine to the academy, entering with due haste. When he got to Iruka-sensei's classroom, he saw Konohamaru and 3 other boys who looked like they had just fought. Naruto walked over to Konohamaru and took care of his little brother's cut lip without even noticing Iruka-sensei. Naruto said, "Please explain," but no one was around.
Konohamaru-kun got into a fight, Iruka said, and felt dumb when Naruto simply looked at him as to remind the academy instructor that was quite obvious.
I don't know why, but Konohamaru threw the first punch. He won't tell me why, but it's not okay to fight like this. Naruto asked. What happened, Kono-chan? Konohamaru looked down to avoid looking at Naruto. Kono-chan, I'm not mad, but I need to know more.
They called you names, Ni-chan, so I kicked their butts, core.
Konohamaru, what could they have said to you to make you want to fight? Asked Iruka-sensei.
They called Ni-chan an idiot and said that their parents called him that all the time, Konohamaru said. I might not be able to fight their parents, but I'll beat up those losers. When Iruka-sensei gave them a hard look, the 3 boys jerked back.
We don't use language like that in this academy, and we don't disrespect shinobi of this village that are trusted to protect it with their lives. You boys understand me? The Chunin asked and received a trio of affirmative responses. Konohamaru, I get why you're mad, but fighting wasn't the way to solve the problem. Naruto said, I agree, and Iruka-sensei smiled at how responsible Naruto was. They had more people with them and more witnesses, Naruto said, stroking his chin. If you wanted to punish them for what they said, there were better ways. A disinformation campaign that made them outcasts would be emotionally devastating and hard to track back to you. A small poison given over a few weeks could make them lose control of their bowels. Iruka-sensei was mortified, especially since he couldn't correct his former student. Those were all tried and true ninja tactics and he couldn't speak out against them. I don't know about poisons yet, Ni-chan. Ah, we'll work on that. Instead, a series of pranks that got worse would have been enough, or at the very least, you should have waited to attack until you were in a better position. I must have had the advantage. Yes, but I'll bet you worked harder and took more damage than you had to. What about Moegi-chan and Udon? Konohamaru said, I told them to stay out of it, and he smiled when he saw his brother nod in agreement.
Good instincts, you protected your team, but next time bring them in, plan ahead instead of just reacting, and don't leave any evidence. Iruka-sensei can't punish you because he knows you did something, and if he ever tries I'll put him in a scroll like I did with Ebisu-san, Naruto said as he ran his fingers through Kono-chan's hair. Iruka-sensei wasn't happy about that threat, but the Sarutobi smiled because he knew his big brother wasn't like this with anyone else.
We're going to train before our movie night. I don't think you're ready to fight more than one enemy at once. Hi. Naruto told Iruka-sensei, if there's nothing else, I have to go back to the hospital. The man said, no, and let the former student, who was oddly his favorite, go with a smile. Naruto left the academy building, but instead of going back to the hospital, he took a detour to the Hokage Tower. His timing was fortunate as he gained entrance to see his Oji-san without delay. Hi, Naruto-kun. What can I do for you today? Hello, Oji-san, Naruto said. I can't stay long, but I have something to tell you in a question.
Please keep going, Hiruzen said. Kono-chan got into a fight at the academy. Some boys were making fun of me, and Kono-chan stepped in to defend me. Don't worry, I gave him a talk about how to handle a situation like that better.
Like telling Iruka? Hiruzen asked, hoped. Like subterfuge and psychological warfare or guerrilla tactics. I did not believe it acceptable to make Iruka-sensei his agent in a retaliatory effort, Oji-san. No, of course not. I was just being silly, Hiruzen said with a small smile. What are you going to do? Before we go to the movies, I'll start teaching him how to fight more than one person at once. That seems right. Just keep reminding him to pay attention to his surroundings, because he still has trouble with that, Hiruzen said. Naruto nodded, so the Sandaime asked. Okay, now what is your question? The blonde asked the Hokage, is it normal to not want to get out of bed if there are two women in it? Hinata-chan and Haku were in bed with me, and I almost ran late because of it. Hiruzen had a tick mark and said something about lucky little brats before saying, I wouldn't know, Naruto-kun. This surprised Naruto because he thought his Oji-san knew almost everything he had done in his life. Could you try it and let me know? Naruto asked, and Hiruzen's tick mark grew as he heard his Anbu guard snickering in the background. If I find two willing women, you'll be the first person I tell. Thank you, Oji-san. I have to go back to the hospital, but I'll see you later. Yes, Naruto-kun, of course. Have a great day, he told his grandson. When the blonde left, Hiruzen's guards laughed at him, but the professor had the last laugh when he said, just for that, you will all be my sparring partners for the weekend. After that, no one laughed but the old man. Hiruzen loved his surrogate grandson as if he were truly his own, often that the little blonde was not slipped the Hokage's mind. But there were times when he was quickly reminded that he was Minato and Kushina's son, no matter how bad he was. Only their children could give him so much trouble without even trying, or even being in the village. Jiraiya and Kakashi both did well with their new situations because they knew it was best for the rest of Team 7. After a 2-week period of intensive training, the new Team Jiraiya had left the village and would be gone until a month before the Chunin exams. Naruto sent his clones to work on projects that could be finished quickly because he knew he would be gone. Hiruzen was excited about the idea of getting power from the trees around the village. The Shinobi Corps of Engineers loved the idea so much that they begged Hiruzen to send Naruto to them. He turned them down, of course, and watched as some of the smartest ninja in his village sulked and then buried him in paperwork so they could start fixing up the buildings in Konoha. Project LEAF, Light Energy Absorption Field, was already in the works. The SEAL team and barrier squads would put them on the nearby forests over the next few weeks, but they wouldn't be fully activated until Naruto came back to check on the work. Even though he didn't like it, Hiruzen could deal with the extra paperwork. It was one of the few ways his shinobi could show him they didn't like him without risking any real, painful, violent, permanent consequences, though the Hokage would cut their budget by 3% in the next fiscal year as punishment. If it had stopped there, Hiruzen would have thought about how lucky he was, but it didn't. Naruto had even gotten Konohamaru's mother, Kana, also known as Anbusaru, angry. Kana also liked Naruto a lot, but she didn't get to spend much time with him or her own son because she had to be away a lot for her Anbu work. She liked how close Kono and Naruto were because she knew it helped her son deal with how much she was gone. Hiruzen knew this, so he was at first confused when Kana came to his office to talk to him. Why did Naruto teach Mababy the first stage of the silent killing technique? Kana had asked and Hiruzen facepalmed. Kana talked for a long time about how Kono-chan was bragging that his Nichin taught him a cool new game of tag and that he could now disappear in a crowd. It wasn't so much what Naruto had begun to teach Kono-chan that worried her. People were afraid that a small assassin would pop up behind them because he was practicing it in the middle of the village. Hiruzen said he would talk to Kono-chan and told Ebisu to watch his charge more closely. He gave the man a lot of money to do it. But those headaches paled in comparison to his volatile student. Tsunade had gone back to surgery, which was a big step in her recovery, and she was really happy to be able to do medicine again. She wanted to fully immerse her newest student in her world now that she was back in it, but the temporary team switch made things harder. He spent less and less time at the hospital, and he only learned the most basic things about field surgery, like how to use the mystic palm and chakra scalpels. Hiruzen got tired of his student's temper tantrums when she glared at him and tapped her foot impatiently, making his office shake a little. If anything, Tsunade-chan, I should be mad at you, Hiruzen said. What the hell did I do? I steal your student and give him to a moronic pervert. The last Senju question, hands on her hips. No, you just let an S-rank secret be found out while you were looking, the Sandaime said. I was gone by the time Minato was an adult. Do you think I kept up with what he liked to wear? Was I a member of some fan club no one told me about? Did I hang his pictures on my wall and swoon? Also, I didn't choose Naruto's clothes, his little blonde girlfriend did. Since then, you could have asked for a change. Maybe, sensei, but you have to weigh the harm you might do against the harm you might avoid. Hiruzen asked in surprise, what are you talking about? Well, Naruto's secret is out or whatever. Maybe Iwa does something. But now, the hospital staff treats him like a colleague. They even talk to him around the water cooler, though he mostly just listens. Because the staff treats him well, the patients are more likely to do the same. This means I haven't had to kill anyone or mess up the hospital walls. See? Cost and benefits, sensei. Cost and benefits. You can't leverage the harm you would, and could wholly decide not to, do against other risks. That's madness. Whether you think it's crazy or not, it's the truth. Now, maybe you can tell me how I'm supposed to make these breakthroughs you want me to make if my partner isn't here to help me. Remember, that's why you called me back. He'll be back for the exams, and be busy taking the exams, and after he takes them, what? Jiraiya likes to go on long training trips. What am I supposed to do then? Well, about that, Hiruzen began. I'm not getting any younger, and I've already taken a break from work. Tsunade became mortified and fled the Hokage's office, reasoning if she didn't hear the proposal then it didn't count. Hiruzen wasn't upset by how quickly she left because he had planned for it. Sucker, he said under his breath as he laughed. He knew that none of his students wanted the hat, but he also knew that one of them would have to take it. The village needed new people to take charge. In another part of the village, Asuma was hard at work training Team 10. Well, one member of Team 10, his one and only Kunoichi, had just gotten her knuckle knives, but she was determined to learn how to use them. Asuma had no problem admitting that he had made a mistake when he first said Ino couldn't learn how to use his signature weapon. She seemed to have grown up overnight, and even though he thought it would be annoying to have an eager genin always trying to figure out what he meant by what he said and killing someone's pet because of it, the Yamanaka had shown that she was better than that. Not obsessive, just attentive. Remember, Ino, your body won't be like mine. Your style will be to move in and out and change distance. Set up your cuts with kicks, change levels, and don't follow a set pattern, he told her as she hit a training dummy. She said, "Hi, sensei," and then went back to work. Asuma walked toward his other two students, the sound of thuds accompanying him. Asuma told them, "You two need to get up and move. Ino is working harder than both of you put together, and that stops now. Choji, I want you to run 10 laps around the training ground and then up and down one tree 10 times. Then come back," the fat Akamichi said, but he did as he was told. Asuma could give the air one thing. He knew how to do what he was told. Then he looked at the Nara, who he thought would be the leader of his group. He was starting to have some doubts about that name. As for you, Shikamaru, we'll work on your endurance, chakra reserves, and ability to plan ahead. How? Very simple, you are going to try to catch me with your shadow possession jutsu. Once you do, you must keep me restrained for 3 minutes. For however long you fall short of that goal, that time gets added to your next attempt. Troublesome, said the Nara. Asuma corrected, make it 3.5 minutes, Shikamaru, and then he gave his student a look as if to dare him to complain more. He was smart and didn't. He, instead, selected to follow Asuma into the clearing. Soon, Asuma told the elite ninja to start the catch and release game, and the Nara got a workout he wouldn't forget. Another Junin sensei watches her team work hard at training on a nearby training field. Kurenai's team had already done the tracking exercises and chakra control drills for the day. Now there was taijutsu sparring, and then there were missions. The red-eyed beauty watched as her most outspoken student talked to the student who used to be the most shy. The Inuzuka was having a hard time.
Hinata yelled, 2 palms. Her Byakugan was active, and the 2-finger jabs hit quickly. 4 palms, she said as the blows came faster, which her natural grace made possible. 8 palms, he said, and he touched each one. 16 palm, yelled the Hyuga heiress as she killed the Ninken user. His body hit the ground with a disturbing thud.
Hinata said with pride, "Yes, I'm the princess of Juken, and you'd better deal with it." As a reward, today's special guest came to greet her, and she didn't hesitate to pick him up and give him a hug. "Did you see that Chappie-kun? The next time Akamaru-kun picks on you, he won't let him, will he?" Kiba just groaned and stayed put on the ground. He didn't tell Akamaru to do anything to the stupid rabbit, but he is a dog. A unique, well-trained dog that can use chakra, but it's still a dog. It wouldn't be smart for Kiba to turn off these instincts, so Akamaru chased the stupid animal for a while. Kiba thought it was all in good fun. His teammate, however, came to a different conclusion. The pain in his body was getting better, and he was able to get himself together again. Before he spoke, he took a deep breath. I know you only count the strikes to be a jerk, Hinata, he said. Hinata's only answer was a smile. I think that's enough taijutsu for today, he said. But what have we learned? Shino said. I need to get faster and learn how to dodge better. He wasn't the best at fighting up close, so being able to get some distance was important for him. Kurenai nodded, thinking that her most analytical student would come to the same conclusion. We'll work on your defense, Shino, but keep in mind that you're getting better. How about you too? I could be more aggressive, said Hinata. Yes. It's a fine line, and as you face better opponents, they won't leave obvious gaps. Sometimes you have to make your own offense. I know that with your bloodline. It may not seem like that, but it's better to get in the habit. When you do go on the offensive, you are very effective. Kiba said in a loud voice, effective, she says. How about being cruel and sadistic? Now, Kiba. Sure, Hinata could have stopped her attack at 8 palms, but she could have also gone to 32. You need to stop being so aggressive. Overwhelming force is like any other technique. Without control, it can be easily avoided or turned against you. We'll work on helping you set things up and get better at fighting without Akamaru, Kurenai said. Kiba grumbled, now, let's go do some missions, but he joined the rest of his team as they left the training grounds for an exciting day of jobs. Last but not least, on another training field, Konoha's youngest beast was having a great time with his only kunoichi. Guy could tell that Tenten-chan had changed in some way. It wasn't a big deal or even a cause for concern, but she seemed to be pushing herself a little harder. She was studying her fuinjutsu more carefully and even practicing her taijutsu more seriously. She also seemed a little thrown off, as if a piece of her worldview had been broken. The Junin thought about all of this as he tried to avoid the things that were coming at him. The taijutsu made it look easy, but he was amazed by how Tenten's signature jutsu had changed. Guy would say that she was encouraging and helpful, but he would also say that he liked how she acted when no weapon could even touch him. Tenten sat down on the grass and said, damn it all.
Guy gave Tenten-chan a thumbs up and said, Yosh. Don't give up, Tenten-chan. Your skill with that technique keeps getting better. She gave him a small smile in return to his big one.
Neji said, I have to say, Tenten, your skill has improved. How did you get the projectiles to follow the target? Someone helped me with my fuinjutsu, and the extra seals let me focus on specific targets. That is most fascinating, indeed. Who provided this most youthful help, Tenten-chan? Lee inquired with great enthusiasm. Naruto, said the master of weapons in response. Neji told Tenten, you shouldn't hang out with my cousin's friend, who is a failure. He'll bring you down, which made his teammates mad. You don't know what you're talking about, and since we won't agree, let's just leave it there. Neji was slightly taken aback by Tenten's response. She had never talked to him like that before, and even though he respected her, he wouldn't let anyone question his beliefs or treat him badly. As his other teammate, the doomed failure of Team 9, cut in on his righteous rant, it was already too late. Naruto-kun is very young, Neji. I think you two could be friends if you could just get over how much you dislike him. He's a little hip and cool, but neither of those are reasons to actively dislike him. He just needs to see the flames of youth, Yosh. Well said, Lee, and since you have so much energy, it's time for a team spar. All of you against me. Let's get to it. Guy said, putting on his nice guy pose. Neji's irritation with his teammates was quickly set aside. It was never easy to fight with his sensei, and he had to pay attention the whole time. Kabuto threw his goods down roughly, hoping to make as much trouble as he could. If he'd had his way, he would have taken the boy to his lab and started testing him right away, if only to make up for all the trouble he'd caused the longtime spy. He got even more angry when his master laughed, but he knew not to stare at Orochimaru-sama. Kukuku, don't be so rude to our new friend, Kabuto-kun. He is my honored guest and will be treated as such, said Orochimaru, who was very happy to see Kabuto. His clothes were dirty, torn, and signed. It was clear that his second-in-command had been in a tougher fight than he had first thought, which was more proof that the snake Sanin was right. Now, take off that gag and loosen those chains. He wouldn't be so stupid as to attack me, would he, Naruto-kun? Kabuto did what he was told. He thought the blonde would fight back in some way, so he was surprised when she didn't. The genin just rubbed his wrists to ease some of the pain from being tied up, but he didn't say anything or try to get away. It almost seemed like he didn't care who was sitting across from him at the table. The auto doctor changed his glasses, which showed how he was feeling at the moment.
Naruto took a look around. He could see one exit to his left, and a long dining room table stood between him and the Sannin. The room was bright because there were lights hanging from the ceiling and candles on the stone walls.
Please go get dinner, Kabuto-kun, Orochimaru told Kabuto-kun. Hi, said the silverette, and she did as she was told. Hello, Naruto-kun. My name is Orochimaru. Thank you for honoring me with your presence. Naruto looked at the man, the traitorous student of his Oji-san. He wasn't a guest because he'd been taken, but it was clear that the man wanted to act like this was a social call. He wanted to make things take longer, so the Uzumaki decided to give in. Thanks for your invitation. You're welcome, and I'm sure you're wondering why I had Kabuto-kun and the Sound 4 give you such a strong invitation, right?
Naruto nodded. That's a bit of a story. When Kabuto-kun told me that the village's security was being changed and that all the senior ninja were getting a new Fuinjutsu-enabled device, I was naturally curious. Did Jiraiya have a late-period burst of genius, or was there a new Fuinjutsu user on the scene? Orochimaru stopped when Kabuto came back.
I was shocked that Kabuto-kun couldn't get one of those devices. He couldn't even break into the factory. With the dragnet in the village and everything else, he had to go home empty-handed, ashamed of his loss. It was even worse that he didn't know who this possible seal master could be. Orochimaru laughed. The doctor put the bowl of tonkatsu ramen in front of Naruto while trying not to break it. Orochimaru just smiled at the anger of his subordinate. Naruto took his porcelain spoon and filled it with a little bit of the ramen broth. The Uzumaki used a simple medical ninjutsu before putting the warm liquid in his mouth. It meant that poisons could be found with the tongue. He didn't find any. He picked up his chopsticks with his free hand and started eating right away. I do hope you enjoy it. I remember that ramen was one of your parents' favorite foods, Orochimaru said. The Uzumaki began to hum. It was clear that the Sannin was asking him questions to find out if he knew about his parents and if he could use that information to control him.
The ramen is quite good, said the genin. The boy was as cold as ice, but Orochimaru laughed.
Now, as I was saying, I was given this mystery and didn't have much to go on. It was so frustrating not to know, but a stupid toad gave me all the information I needed, Orochimaru said, beaming with pride. He picked up the remote and turned on a multi-panel screen, which showed different parts of Team Jiraiya's attack on the Snake Sannin's base. Naruto was in most of the clips. To be able to apply seals with chakra alone is a master-level skill, and here you do it with several different arrays. Those poor ninja didn't know what to do. When they went into the base, they weren't looking for the Sannin or his followers. Jiraiya was asked to figure out why a lot of people were being taken from a nearby town. The infiltration had gone well, but as the team was leaving, one of the people they had taken hostage set off an alarm. This meant they had to fight their way out.
Next, we see you building a wall to trap more of my men and leaving them to the designs of that ink beast. Finally, we see you using that special shuriken to cut off the head of one of my most prized experiments. The half-stone, berserker beast was not easy to stop, beating Haku, Sai, and him. It was quick and strong. They only won because they thought fast and used Naruto's emitter disc. The three of them fell to the ground while the monster stood up, not expecting anything to happen.
With your looks and your level of skill, it didn't take long for Kabuto to remember a boy with blonde hair and blue eyes named Naruto Uzumaki, who was hidden on Sasuke-kun's team. Sarutobi-sensei was always disgustingly smart like that. Put you on a team with the last Uchiha, and no one would give you a second look. I guess I'm lucky that I don't miss things like that. Naruto agreed that this man liked to talk about himself. It was good because he didn't have to argue with him or try to outsmart him. The traitor would do it without being told to. That would be a good idea. Not many people know this, but I wanted Minato to be my apprentice at first, Orochimaru said. He didn't get a response, which seemed to make him laugh. I saw the same talent as Jiraiya, but I also saw something even more impressive and rare. Do you know what that is, Naruto-kun? No, Naruto said, and the Sannin was not wrong to think that the Uzumaki was talking about him. He wasn't, though. As the Sannin talked, his team moved into range of the seal on his communicator. Jiraiya had arrived on a battlefield hours before. His team wasn't at the inn he had booked, and it looked like there had been a fierce battle in the area. There were cuts in the trees, burn marks, and other signs of damage. He went up to his team, where his godson was giving Sai and Haku help. It was clear that they had been hurt, and that made the Toad Sage's chest tighten. He had gone to meet someone, but he couldn't really bring the kids with him. During that time, they were attacked. What's going on, Naruto? Otto. One was Kabuto Yakushi, who used to work at the hospital. He was much better than a genin. The others called themselves the Sound Four. They had cursed marks and beat us. Haku took an arrow to the stomach, but her flak jacket stopped it from going too deep. It nearly broke a rib on impact. Sai had a concussion, which I treated along with his dislocated shoulder. Is there anything else? Yes, we are both clones. Their job was to take the original. Jiraiya yelled, what? Before he calmed down. I can just reverse summon him, so not ideal but not a catastrophe. The boss doesn't think you should do that. Well, why not? They didn't want him dead, so they're taking him back to some kind of base, the clone said. The locator seal is active, and the communicator seal will be once you're in range. This is a chance to get more information and maybe confirm what you think. Jiraiya swore at himself for not being more careful. As they moved through that other base, he said that the work was probably done by Orochimaru, mostly to himself and out of disgust, but his team heard him. He was right. If they could get there in time, it would prove that Otto was connected to Orochimaru in some way, and resources could be put toward getting rid of the mysterious village. How long until they're up and running? At most 20 minutes, Jiraiya grunted, and he waited for what seemed like the longest 20 minutes of his life. The clones disappeared, sending the important information back to the original. What was left of Team Jiraiya quickly left, with the two younger shinobi pushing themselves to keep up with the legendary ninja. They missed the happy Jiraiya they had grown used to. It was clear that when he got there, there would be a count. As they ran toward Naruto, Haku was the first to notice that the seal on the communicator had turned on. She was angry with herself for being too weak to protect her friend. She didn't act quickly enough when she had to kill, and it cost her. She could still taste the bitter taste of regret on her tongue, and she promised herself that she would never let her weak heart put Naruto or anyone else in danger again. Naruto-kun, are you hurt? No, we're 7 minutes away, just hang on, was the last thing anyone heard the last known Yuki say as she hurried on, ready to do anything to save her friend. 7 minutes, thought the Uzumaki. It wasn't very long, but it would do. He had a mission to finish, and he'd had enough of the strange snake man's talk. Forming the ram sign, a seal started to glow in Kabuto's arm, something that was not missed by Orochimaru. He also didn't miss the fact that the seal looked like it was moving up his subordinate's arm toward his body. Orochimaru cut off Kabuto's arm with an earth-style mud wall. He did this by taking out the hidden kunai he kept in his sleeve. The structure kept them safe from the explosion that was expected. Orochimaru knew his guest had left when the smoke cleared and the ringing in his ears stopped. He looked at Kabuto, who was hurting himself on the ground. He could replace the boy's arm, so he hadn't lost all value. Not that he would be too sad if Kabuto died. If a genin could trick him, which almost happened, he wasn't the kind of ninja the Sannin needed. He went to the door, and when he tried to open it, he was shocked. He laughed about being stuck in the room because he was interested in what Naruto-kun would do.
Just after Naruto vacated the dining room, he placed a timed barrier seal on the door. It wasn't very hard, but it did the job. He called up his black flak jacket and closed the zipper. He had taken it off before Kabuto finally caught him. He didn't have much time, but he would follow what his Oji-san said.
If you were ever in the territory of an enemy, get rid of all signs of mercy and doubt. Don't expect to be shown mercy, so don't show mercy to them either. Naruto's first kills had happened during the attack on the first auto base. He didn't know what he thought about it. It gave him no great thrill but didn't fill him with sadness either. He hadn't had much time to figure out what was going on, and that wasn't going to change. After he had tagged each of the Sound Four, he turned on his projection seal. If everything went as planned, we would all die tonight. The enemy often thinks that their numbers are a strength, but when they are caught off guard or really surprised, numbers are a weakness. People can be irrational, and the bigger the group, the bigger the effect. Do as much damage as you can and cause as much chaos as you can while you do your real job. He could hear people coming toward him from both sides of the hallway. They were all running toward the entrance to the dining room. Naruto took 2 emitter discs out of his flak jacket and threw them away from each other. When the discs were held by the tiger seal, they blew up. At first, he heard screams, but then there was nothing. The Uzumaki made 10 copies of himself. Each copy went in the opposite direction to cause trouble and make sure he could leave. As he ran down the hall, He could see how well his explosion worked, but he decided not to think about it too much because he needed to pay attention. The base was a maze of underground levels and long hallways. He couldn't act too quickly, but he did have to move quickly. The first target was coming up quickly, and in their haste, Naruto could hear more than one of them quickly set up a trap and then blend into the background. Saken yelled, "Quick, you idiots! We need to get to Orochimaru-sama now." He and the 6 other continued down the hallway, the strongest of the Sound 4 bringing up the rear. None of the ninja knew they had broken a seal. A flashbang just blinded and deafened them. Naruto took advantage of his opening by dropping down from the stone ceiling, putting a chakra restriction seal on Saken, and stabbing him in the head. He knew the man was actually 2 people, but without chakra they would share one fate. One was hurt. Naruto looked to the others. He made 4 hand gestures and then put the palm of his right hand on the ground. Naruto left as a seal came out and surrounded the downed ninja. 5 minutes were still left. The ninja were still not working together, so Naruto was able to get to the next level. Naruto waited for his next target while he clung to the ceiling. It was the big one that hit Sai on the head and hurt him. The Uzumaki dropped to the ground and got ready for another quick slash like the last one. He felt his blade go through the flesh. "Ah," said the big man, who now had a kunai stuck in his hand. He fought back with a strong punch that sent Naruto through the door of the next room. Jirobo grunted as he removed the blade, following the boy into the room. Only to be sent back when an emitter disc blew up. It wasn't very strong because they were short on time, but it was enough to temporarily blind the behemoth. Jirobo instinctively put out his hands and caught the 2 stabs that were coming for his neck. Blind and angry, he grabbed Naruto by the wrists and threw him against the wall. Because of the force, spider cracks appeared. Unrelenting, the Sound 4 strong man went for a headbutt, finding a pair of knees instead of his intended target, consequently breaking his nose. When Jirobo turned around, Naruto took advantage of the situation and kicked the Auto Elite in the throat. He let go because he was scared, and then he got a kunai in each lung. The man who looked like a titan fell to the ground, and Naruto threw another kunai at him to make sure his target wouldn't come back. He did that wrong thing with Kabuto, and he wouldn't do it again. Naruto turned on his projection seal again and saw that his last 2 targets were far away from each other. One was on the lowest level, and the other was near the stairwell he had just used. He had less than 3 minutes, so he couldn't waste any time. Running through the halls, he was soon presented with a squad of ninja. It looked like they were getting their minds back on him, and he was no longer distracting them. The ninja in the tunic was not surprised to see him and was ready to fight. Any half-trained shinobi force will eventually regroup and launch a counterattack. It will be harder to navigate their terrain, but nothing is hopeless. Certain people draw others to them, giving their teammates strength and confidence. Crush those people and you crush morale. Then kill everyone in front of you. Naruto looked carefully at the group in front of him. All of them are adults, and all but one are about the same size. He was about the same height as Hitaki-sensei, and the other 3 were all around him. He also saw the other 3 subtly looking at man as if waiting to follow his lead. His back hurt and his ribs hurt, and he was getting irritable. He couldn't waste time with these people, but he knew that if he didn't pay attention, he'd fail and maybe die. Naruto took 2 senbon out of a special pocket on his jacket and got into a defensive position. The larger man laughed, as if in disbelief. "Are you the one making all this noise? I heard you killed Saken, which is good because I never liked that jerk. Why don't you go back to Orochimaru-sama before the boys and I hurt you?" "No, a tough guy, huh? Okay, I'll show you what it means to be tough, and then Orochimaru-sama will reward me," the man said, and then he ran toward Naruto. He wasn't very fast, and he was standing in the wrong way to fight someone much smaller than him. Once he reached Naruto, he found the 2 senbon in a knee each. He was so shocked by the pain that he didn't block the dropkick that the kidnapped genin threw at him. The other 3 showed how much they couldn't believe this child had done it. It was a bad choice. The other mistake they made was attacking their downed leader, instead of Naruto, but they couldn't fix it. One flare of chakra later and the 2 senbon exploded, taking out the entire squad. Naruto rushed through the door, ignoring the blood and smell of burned flesh. Pain came soon after. He was in a lot of pain and felt like he was being lifted off his feet and thrown through a door again and again. When the Uzumaki looked down from his back, he saw a golden arrow go through his armor. He could feel the cracks in his ribs, and it was hard for him to breathe. He could also feel that the wound was slowly getting better, but he didn't have time to wait. Naruto ran through the doorway again, but this time he jumped over the railing and down to the next floor. He almost got hit by another arrow as he did so. He grunted in pain as he grabbed onto the metal frame. Kidomaru said as he hung from a web and aimed his bow at Naruto. "This is as far as you can go, Blondie." Kidomaru didn't give Naruto a chance to catch his breath, so he kept up his cat and mouse game by shooting arrows at Naruto quickly and Naruto just barely dodging them. He was a target, but he was on a hill and had other advantages. No matter what he did, the Spider Boy was always ready to attack, leaving no time for a counterattack. Naruto understood that he didn't have time to help him personally. The only good thing about being attacked all the time was that he was getting close to the bottom level. Naruto let go of where he was and picked up 3 pellets, which he then threw up. Soon, the stairwell was engulfed in smoke and Kidomaru pulled himself up so as to not be ambushed. Wind style. Air bullets shot up, proving that the 6-armed ninja was right to trust his gut. He got away from them, but he frowned because the smoke was still rising and making it hard for him to see. The Sound 4 archer heard things cutting through the smoke more than he saw them. He barely had enough time to get out of the blast's direct path, but he still got hurt. When the smoke finally cleared, Kidomaru saw roughly a dozen copies of the little bastard he'd abducted earlier. He was tired from the last fight, but he knew that this kid was determined to kill him. He got ready for round 2 after he let go of the first level of his cursed mark. The first one landed quietly and moved toward his final goal. He was running out of time and had to give up being quiet for speed. Naruto ran past the prison cells, but the prisoners were too scared and beat up to tell him where he was. Few people bothered to look up. He followed the last bodyguard of Orochimaru, and he didn't even need his seal to find her. Some of the prisoners were getting yelled at by the kunoichi, who used a lot of bad words and insults. Naruto took a deep breath and thought of something else his Oji-san had told him. Never be afraid to go against someone's strength. Shinobi can be proud of their skills. If you go against a specialist with a weak version of their skill, they may be too busy bragging to notice the opening they gave you. Use it to your advantage. Naruto recalled the girl used auditory genjutsu but wasn't much for direct combat. He didn't know a lot of good genjutsu, but he did have one that would work.
Naruto cast the demonic art, Hell Viewing Jutsu with a quick series of hand seals.
Tayuya knew right away that she was under a genjutsu and ripped right through it. As she turned to yell at the fool who would try such a useless technique on her, a shin hit the soft cartilage of her nose and broke it easily. As Naruto got close to the downed kunoichi, he heard the cell doors shake very hard. Naruto knew it was a warning, so he went down on all fours and the kick that was meant for his head went over him. But he didn't have enough time to avoid the kick to his already hurt ribs that came next. The fast and powerful blow knocked the Uzumaki back several feet. "So, this is the trash that interests Orochimaru-sama?" Naruto heard someone ask. He looked up and saw an older teen with white hair and loose clothes. The kick hurt, undoing any progress his regenerative abilities had accomplished. Tayuya started by pinching her nose and saying, "Yeah, that's the fucker." "Good, you go, and I'll take care of it from here," said Kimimaro. The normally vulgar girl did as she was told and departed further away. The Uzumaki threw a kunai at the girl, but Kimimaro grabbed it and threw it away. Naruto started to feel angry inside. He only had about a minute and a half left to finish his mission, and he had to get through this person. Kimimaro attacked out of the blue. Naruto had to be more defensive and sneaky in this fight because he was hurt. He did this by using the moves Shizune taught him. He was able to avoid most of the blows from the older boy, but he was still getting hit now and then. The two of them looked like they were caught in a dance of death, with the quick moves throwing off the deadly intent. Naruto knew the person he was fighting was better than him, but that didn't stop him from fighting. He was patient and learned his enemy's patterns and when to attack. It wasn't long before he found his opening. Kimimaro tried to hit Naruto with a roundhouse, but Naruto dodged it and put a paper bomb on Kimimaro's leg. Naruto moved away with a shunshin and turned on the note. He heard a grunt of pain, but he didn't see any blood like he thought he would. When the smoke cleared, he saw that the auto ninja didn't look too bad, except that his clothes were burned. His leg was covered in what looked like thick bone armor, and it held a sword made of the same material. "It seems it was wrong of me to call you trash. I am Kaguya Kimimaro and will present your broken body to my lord." Naruto said nothing in response but unsealed his staff. He spun it around and ran toward the now named Kaguya. Kidomaru was breathing hard when he got back to the stairwell. Because of the clones, he was forced to need the second level of his cursed mark. The surroundings were wrecked, signs of multiple explosions and blunt force damage could be seen about. He was just happy that he finally got them all. He needed to see a doctor about his burns and get some rest to stop this. He thought he was safe, so he didn't move quickly enough when the last clone came down from above. To make up for being caught off guard, he made a short arrow and threw it behind him by palming it. He got the clone, but it had already done its job. Kitamaru felt the effect of the seal that had been put on him right away. A seal that would keep his cursed mark from spreading and make it go away. The pain and the destabilization of his chakra network caused the arachnid-themed boy to lose his grip. As he fell, he couldn't stop himself because he was becoming unconscious. Not able to channel chakra into his body, Kitamaru hit the ground from a several stories fall, breaking his back, but not even the force of his impact nor the agony it elicited could wake the boy. Kimimaro looked at the boy with whom he had been fighting. He was tempted to use his cursed mark, but he knew it would speed up his death. He thought he couldn't give this boy even a single chance to escape or the blonde would try to kill him. He couldn't die until Orochimaru-sama said he could. Kimimaro wondered how the boy would fight without holding back because he had been hurt in previous fights and didn't want to hurt the other prisoners. But that could wait. The boy had a weakness that no one knew about, and the Kaguya planned to use it to end this fight. He really couldn't make it last longer without bad things happening. He ran at the Konoha Genin, making several quick thrusts at him. Kimimaro said that Naruto would block each attack, and he was right. However, after the first attack, the boy put down his staff. Channeling chakra into his legs, the leader of Orochimaru's elite guard rushed him, stabbing Naruto in the left shoulder. It was the way he had planned. But Kimimaro couldn't be happy about what he thought was his victory. Naruto had his own plan going on while he was running. After giving the Kaguya a false way in, Naruto closed his staff and took the blow on his shoulder. Besides, he only needed one hand. Grinding the flesh. His muscles were being torn apart, and they were begging to give way to a stronger force. There aren't many people who have lived through the Rasengan. Kimimaro would be added to that list. Ironically, Jiraiya saved his life because he called him back just as Naruto was about to pierce his chest with the peak of shape manipulation. The Uzumaki pulled the bone sword out of his shoulder with little fanfare. He found himself in a hug with Haku and felt the familiar softness of his bust. He used to enjoy Haku's hugs a lot, but now he felt like he didn't deserve them. He'd lost. He was supposed to get even with the people who had hurt his friends, but he'd failed. Before he could say what he was thinking, he heard a voice he thought he was done with for a while. He knew that his barrier wouldn't last long, but he hoped that the strange snake man would help his troops. Jiraiya stood in front of his team and was ready to attack if Orochimaru did something bad. Kukuku, why Naruto-kun, you sure caused a mess. Jiraiya yelled, you've gone too far this time, Orochimaru, but the snake Sannin didn't take his eyes off Naruto. We can fight now, Jiraiya, but I have more people and no problem killing the kids. I'd love to get that Yuki on my table. We'd have a lot of fun, I'd have a lot of fun. You'd scream yourself hoarse and beg me to stop. Jiraiya frowned. He couldn't really go all out with his team here, and that was the only way he could kill his old teammate. For now, they had to go back, even though he wanted to kill that man and anyone who dared to follow him. Let's go, said Jiraiya. Oh, before you do that, Naruto-kun, I never got to tell you my answer. The reason I wanted Minato-kun as a student was because he was born to kill, just like me, Orochimaru said with a huge grin. And just like you. Orochimaru looked at his elites who had fallen. 2 of his 4 friends were confirmed to be dead. Kitamaru was able to stay alive, but the long-range fighter's back and legs were broken. Worse still, when asked, he couldn't use his cursed mark in the few moments he was awake. The shinobi who looked like a spider said he couldn't even feel it to draw on it. Kimimaro was in critical but stable condition. Orochimaru couldn't decide if the Kaguya was lucky or not. Sure, he lived, but the damage done by what, as he described it, could only be the Rasengan shortened his already dwindling life and he'd be in great pain for the remainder. Kabuto, on the other hand, had it better. His lost arm could be replaced, and it soon would be. The snake Sannin found it funny that the medical ninja was clearly trying to hide his anger at having been hurt and, more importantly, almost killed by a child. He knew that Kabuto would kill the Uzumaki as soon as he got the chance. If he did it, the Akatsuki would send all of their anger down on him. Orochimaru was smart, but he knew he couldn't beat all of the Akatsuki by himself. Still, he didn't worry about Kabuto's plan. If what the Uzumaki thought about Naruto was true, he had seen enough of Kabuto's fighting style and techniques to get a good idea of how he fought. Kabuto didn't have anything in his arsenal that could change that conclusion at the time. In short, it was likely that the boy knew who Kabuto was. He may be faster and more experienced, but it wouldn't matter. If Kabuto tried to attack Naruto, he would die in the process, and if his second wasn't smart enough to realize that, he would be useless anyway. Overall, the deaths and injuries of his top people, the loss of dozens of others, and having to leave a base were small sacrifices. If Naruto had even half of his father's potential, which is very unlikely because of how good he is with seals, he would be a once-in-a-generation talent. What did make him unhappy was what he saw on the surveillance footage. The chibi assassin hadn't done anything to show he was having fun. Everything was business. Even though it was kind in some ways, it wouldn't work for his student. He would show the Uzumaki how to have fun while working and get as much pleasure as possible from their actions. Life was too short to do things you didn't enjoy. Naruto would learn, though. "You seem happy, Orochimaru-sama," Gurren said as he walked into the medical wing. "Gurren-chan, I'm more excited than anything. I think I've found something interesting." "Who is he?" "Yes, Naruto-kun seems to have his father's skills and interests, as well as something else that is truly amazing." "What is that?" "A bloodline. Will he be your next host?" she asked, trying to hide the bitterness in her voice, but Orochimaru heard it anyway. "No, nothing like that, and even if I wanted him to, he couldn't be my new host. First of all, he knows how to completely seal up the cursed mark, so I wouldn't waste my time trying. Second of all, I think he is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." Gurren's eyes widened for a moment before she regained her composure. She asked, "Is that how he was able to beat them?" "Kukuku, no, I don't know if he can use the Kyuubi's chakra, but it was clear he didn't need to. He has a lot of potential, and just thinking about it makes me excited." "How shall I be of use?" "I want you to backchannel with our remaining assets in Konoha and find out everything you can about Naruto-kun. Jiraiya knows about my connection with Otto, so some things will have to change, but the invasion will still happen." Gurren said, "Hi," then bowed and left. Even though the pieces on the board were the same, the game had changed. Before the game could start, all the Snake Sanin had to do was get them all in line. Things were finally getting interesting. A purple-haired, long-term Anbu kneeled in front of her Hokage. The wise leader was getting through her report quickly. When Jiraiya told Hiruzen about Naruto's kidnapping, he sent a full platoon of Anbu to the location right away. He knew his wayward student would have likely departed, but if there was even the slim possibility he would be there, he wanted his best on the scene. When the top agents got there, the base had already been cleared. The forensic experts, including Kat, went through the place anyway, paying close attention to any of Naruto's remaining fuinjutsu. The boy had been detailed about his various seals and traps, which was fortunate as he saved the Anbu from tripping any. The damage done shouldn't have been able to be done by a new genin, and that's what her report says. The Sandaime read quickly, feeling both proud and worried at the same time. Kat's description of Naruto's impromptu mission adding color to Naruto-kun's dry synopsis.
As Genin Uzumaki said, the Anbu squad found several of his explosions that went off when he moved. Trapping shows that Genin Uzumaki may not fully understand the subjective parts of emotions, but he does understand them as inputs to the senses that cause predictable responses. Seals that were put on Oto Nin who couldn't fight were linked. If someone went to help a fallen friend, the seal would set off multiple explosions at the same time. Genin Uzumaki was also very practical in how he made and put his seals. Some traps created to take advantage of basic shinobi formations. Pressure seals set off by the leader of a group of ninja would kill those behind without the leader knowing. This gave the lone shinobi confidence in a group that no longer existed.
I think Genin Uzumaki should be promoted to Chunin and put into the Anbu Black Ops because he tried to kill 5 people behind enemy lines, killing 2 of them for sure and possibly killing the other 2. He also gave information about Nukan and Orochimaru. "No," said the Sandaime. "There is safety in anonymity," Kat said in a neutral way, but Hiruzen could feel the acidity in her words. "An anonymous orphan and an Anbu are hardly the same. Rise, Kat," her leader ordered, and she obeyed. Anbu wouldn't help him grow as a person. Anbu would make him strong just like it did for Kakashi, like me, even Itachi. "We don't need another Itachi," the Hokage said. Kat said, Naruto-kun wouldn't be like Itachi because their minds are fundamentally different, and Naruto-kun wouldn't attack Konoha unless you told him to. Hiruzen felt pained at how close to the truth Kat unknowingly was about Itachi. As long as I live, Naruto-kun will never be an Anbu. Kat said. Then send him to the cryptanalysis or engineering divisions. Make a real Fuinjutsu division, put the barrier core under it, and promote him to special Junin. She was growing frustrated. The Sandaime was either the smartest man in the village or one of the smartest. Obviously, he could see that Naruto was getting more attention than he was. The blonde wasn't ready for things to keep getting worse. I know you worry about him and respect Kushina, but Naruto-kun needs to grow. I think he's special and will do great things, just like Minato did. Kushina had also left her mark on a student, just like Minato had. Her pregnancy made things mostly casual, but Kushina had helped train the young Anbu Kunoichi, and Kat liked the woman. But, like Kakashi, she couldn't be adopted because her work with the Black Ops group was too important. He has to be alive to achieve those goals, Kat said.
Yes, he must. But he must also be tested. Fate and foolish old men have not been kind to Naruto-kun, and as much as it pains me to say it, Orochimaru will just be one of many challenges he will face in the future. He has no choice but to be strong, better than even his father and at a much younger age. He will be at his best in the light, reaching only a fraction of his true potential as an Anbu.
That's not realistic, Hokage-sama. Minato-sama was thought to be more than a genius. I know. Many people thought he was the perfect shinobi, but he wasn't. He was just a man, incredibly talented but not perfect. He can be beaten, and I think he thought Naruto-kun would be the one to do it. Sandaime-sama, that's even more reason to draft him. He'll get training and experience all to himself. Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade do what they can, but they have to split their attention between other tasks or responsibilities. My decision is final, Kat. Naruto-kun was meant for the light, not the darkness, and if you've talked to Tenzo, you know he's making connections with many people. He's not that lonely little boy you used to watch play in the forest. Besides, Naruto-kun doesn't need Kat, but I think Yugo would be a great addition to his life. Yeah, but? Did you really think I would let Kakashi-kun be his sensei and bring Jiraiya back but not you? I honestly thought I wouldn't have to tell you. He knows about his parents, so you can introduce yourself. Thank you. Hokage-sama, Sai, Haku, secure the perimeter, Jiraiya told them. The small house they were set to enter was unassuming, but he wouldn't allow himself to be overly lax again. They didn't say anything as they left. He saw his other student make a sign with his hands that looked like a cross, so Jiraiya hit his hands apart. What on earth do you think you're doing, Naruto? Creating clones to add security seals to the house, he answered. That's not what a team medic does. A team medic helps people who are hurt. What are you? You're making me feel a lot of irritation, Naruto said in a neutral way. Jiraiya answered his own question by saying, yes, you are the team medic. He didn't bother to look at his godson. He knew he was being mean to the boy, but Naruto's actions were still dumb. It didn't matter to Jiraiya if it worked out. It was too much a risk. That he had to admonish Naruto for doing something stupid in a similar way to how he once admonished Minato didn't help things. He had lost him way too soon, and he was not going to lose Naruto again. But the Uzumaki was set in his ways and insisted he had done the right thing. Jiraiya wanted him to know it was wrong to lie to his team leader, even if it was for a good reason. And Jiraiya would see this as revenge, which would never be right. The Sannin knocked on the door and immediately heard scurrying about. He heard a Kunoichi ask in a shy voice, what's the password? Jiraiya rolled his eyes. There were a lot of passwords, and the first person to talk set up how you knew which one to give. They begin the sentence, and you finish it. I'm Jiraiya of the Sannin is the password. Open the door, Missy. And no, Jiraiya facepalmed. He could tell by the girl's voice that she was scared. Still, hadn't she been taught how to check if support was there? He was curious about what Kakashi was trying to teach his team. Sakura-san, I offered to have sex with you once we reached 16. You did not seem receptive to the offer. The door opened and Naruto was ensconced in a hug.
Even though he didn't have any diagnostic jutsu, he could tell that his teammate was almost out of energy and needed a break. Naruto knew that nothing she could say would be true, so he put a glowing green hand on her temple. As soon as he took her in his arms, she fell limp, and he did a bridal carry as they walked into the cabin-like house. As they walked in, they saw Kakashi sitting on the couch with a kunai in his hand, but he didn't seem to care.
"Oh, Naruto-kun, you sneaky little devil," his sensei said. Naruto looked at his sensei and then at his godfather, not sure what was meant. Kakashi smiled because he thought Naruto wouldn't understand. "The spare room is in the back. Lay her down and then check on Sasuke and Lee, okay?" Naruto nodded and walked away. "I'm glad to see you, Jiraiya-sama, but you seem stressed," Jiraiya said with a scoff. "I'm beyond stressed, Kakashi. I am in a storm of shit of which there is no safe passage nor dry land. We raided one of Orochimaru's bases, it was our first mission. The snake responds by having his elite bodyguards attack my team and snatch Naruto while I was with a contact." Jiraiya rubbed at his temple, trying to will away his headache. If he had paid attention, he would have seen that Kakashi was visibly tense. Seeing his student was the only thing that made him feel sure that the boy was okay. As if that wasn't bad enough, Kushina's brat decided that all of the ninja involved in his kidnapping had to die. Not because they took him, because he doesn't seem to care. It's because they hurt Sai and Haku in the process. So, what does he do? He goes to war by himself in a base where Orochimaru was present. And he almost did it. He even beat a Kagai. Sensei and Haim know he was snatched. No Orochimaru has interest in him. Sensei sent Enma to inform me of his displeasure. Katsuya tells me Tsunade is creating a new technique just for me. Hell, I can't even reprimand the kid too harshly without Haku wanting to use my nutsack for target practice. She's been his shadow since we got him back. This has just been a mess. Jiraiya finished and finally looked at Kakashi. He didn't not like what he was seeing. "I know you were an Anbu for a long time and that your masks get all messed up, but do not praise him for what he did, Kakashi. I don't want to encourage this kind of behavior, neither to trick me nor to get revenge." Kakashi didn't try to hide how proud he was. Instead, he decided to get the whole story when he got back to the village. "I won't, but I won't tell him off either, not until I have all the facts." "Sure. Whatever," replied the Sannin. "Now, what happened to you?" "Oh, you know. Came to take the client to the capital to get her away from the local crime lord. Residents poisoned me and tried to do the same to the genin because they were afraid of what would happen if the crime lord didn't get what he wanted. Crime lord's muscle, made up of multiple missing or former ninja, attacked, and with me poisoned, we took more damage and lost the client than we would have otherwise."
"Okay. Tell me everything you know about the mission, and I'll finish it."
"What about the rest of your group?" "No, that jerk of a former teammate made me mad, and I need to blow off steam. I can't do that with the kids around. Besides, Haku and Sai will be more than enough to guard this place. Naruto is banned from fighting unless it's absolutely necessary." "Are you sure you want to provoke him like this? You say he's Kushina's child, and you know she always gets even," the copy ninja emphasized. "Peeved. I'm a Sannin. What can that spoiled brat do to me? He bought your publisher, don't you remember? Well, he can't buy them a second time. I'll be fine." Kakashi didn't say anything else because he thought Jiraiya would have to learn the hard way. "Naruto-kun?" Lee asked in surprise as his newest friend walked into the bedroom. He and Sasuke were both sitting on bedrolls. "Is Sakura-chan okay?" asked the taijutsu expert with worry. Sasuke didn't say anything and just watched as one of his teammates put Sakura down on her own bedroll. "She's fine, Lee-san," Naruto said once Sakura was on the ground. "She just needed some rest. She'll wake up in a few hours."
Naruto made a shadow clone of Sakura and sent it to Lee as he moved over to Sasuke and got on his knees. When the real Naruto and the clone started their diagnostic jutsu, Naruto saw the cut on Sasuke's side. It was deep, but it was well bandaged, so Sasuke would have been fine as long as he didn't make any sudden moves. He also saw that there was a lot of dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain. There were also signs of being tired and having high blood pressure.
"Sasuke-san, can you tell me about what happened? We were ambushed. We were able to handle the first wave, but then a few missing nin overpowered us. I used my Sharingan just in time to save Sakura, but who knows where we'd be if our team medic had been with us from the start?" Sasuke said with a bitter smile. He wasn't really mad at either Naruto or Sakura. It did scare him how close he came to dying and never being able to do what he wanted to do with his life. "Reasonable," Naruto said, not taking offense. He kept going over Sasuke, this time focusing on how his eyes had changed. "When you turn on your Sharingan, what do you feel? How did you turn it on?" "I don't know," We were getting overwhelmed and they just turned on. Suddenly, everything seemed slower and I could react better. That's how I was able to get to Sakura. Naruto thought. Takasaki caused by trauma, and he would make a note of it in his medical report. Sasuke-san, I don't think you should use your Sharingan again until you've had a full workup when you get back to the village. The Uchiha didn't like that, but he didn't say anything because he was still tired and hurt from the attack. Lee was being cared for by a clone, who saw that his muscles were very sore and that he was crying. The youthful beast told him about his fierce battle as he told him about the 8 inner gates. It was very clear, and the clone nodded to show that Lee was a good storyteller. The clone fixed the worst of the damage so that Lee could still work if he needed to, but it was usually better to let the body finish healing on its own. He would be fine after a day or 2 of rest. Naruto went back to the front room to help Kakashi get better. The boy worked quietly and only hummed when he found something strange. Even though there was nothing life-threatening, he would ask a more experienced medic to look over his report. Kakashi looked at Chibi and thought about whether he should ignore Jiraiya's request and praise his favorite student for doing something cool. He didn't think Sasuke or Sakura would do anything as cool until they were Chunin. So, Jiraiya-sama says you got into a little trouble, Kakashi said dryly. Naruto answered, yes, as he wrote his report. What are your thoughts on everything? Displeased. I failed to neutralize all of my desired targets. I get it, but not every mission can be a success. How is your team doing? How are Sai and Haku? Sai has also told him that he doesn't like how he's doing. Haku I don't know. She's been close to me since I got back, unless I've been told to stay away. That's not all bad is it? No, I'm fine with it, but I don't know why. She says she's fine, but I don't think that's true. I don't know what to do next. Kakashi thought about the Hyeten user and what he knew about her. It didn't take him long to come to a conclusion, given how smart he was. You know, for a long time, she defined herself by how well she could protect and help Zabuza. I doubt she's changed that much in such a short time. Maybe she thought she should have been better able to protect you and feels bad that she couldn't. We are a team, and she is my friend, not a guard, Naruto says in response.
Yes, but the same could be said about you. Once you knew Orochimaru was behind the kidnapping, you could have let Jiraiya-sama reverse summon you. You have to accept that your friends will be as protective of you as you are of them.
I agree with the main idea, but I'm fine and she's not. Then maybe she needs some reassurance, Kakashi said. Naruto looked at his sensei to see if there would be more, and when there wasn't, he nodded and started writing his reports. Kakashi continued, so, about Orochimaru. How do you feel about all of that? He knew that a side conversation wouldn't stop him from writing his report. I'm not sure. Since he is known to be a traitor and an enemy of Oji-san and the Leaf, I'm tempted to just ignore what he says about the Yondaime. What did he have to say about Minato-sensei? He said he was a natural killer and that's why he was interested in Maya. Is that true? Naruto asked Kakashi. Is that true? Kakashi felt a wave of disgust. No, Orochimaru is mad and his madness colors his perspective. Minato-sensei simply could endure the realities of shinobi life better than anyone I've known. He knew how to make and accept the hard decisions, but when the mission was over he knew how to enjoy life. If I see any comparison between you two, it is that. Sensei was a skilled killer but he didn't enjoy it. He also wasn't racked with guilt. Orochimaru is a psychopath and no matter what he says, I know you, Eren. When Naruto was done with his report, he nodded and sent it to Tsunade through the shared storage seal. He was going to start a project about seals, but Sai walked in with his always present smile. Sai said, we took down 3 enemy ninja. Well done, he said with a smile. I'll meet up with Haku, and you stay here with Naruto-kun. Sai nodded, and Kakashi went toward Haku. Using his sense of smell, Kakashi was able to easily reverse Sai's path. Is Haku okay? She's a sadist, Sai said to describe her personality. Physically? Yes, she's fine, even though she's sad. Tsunade ate her soup and sandwich in the cafeteria with a student she had known for a long time. She could have eaten in her office, but she made it a point to be in the common areas. She wasn't the warmest or friendliest person in the world, but neither was she hard to talk to. One way she tried to show that was by having dinner with them. Her hazel eyes were looking at Naruto's report, which he had just turned in, and she was interested. If he was right, it would point to some interesting ways to treat her, but she wouldn't know what they were until Team 7 came back. A purple-haired kunoichi came up to the Sannin as she was giving the report to Shizune to ask for her opinion. Tsunade took a look at the woman in front of her. Given that the last Senju had seen the Anbu around from time to time, it wasn't hard to figure out who she was. Some people might wonder why Anbu was given such unique traits, but if you were an enemy and saw Anbu, you were about to die anyway. Forgive me for interrupting, Tsunade-sama, but may I have a moment of your time? The fellow leaf ninja asked.
Surya, Yugao. Ma'am. Azuki Yugao. Of course, Yugao. Take a seat, said Tsunade, and the swordswoman agreed. Can I help you in any way?
I was on Uzumaki Naruto-kun's detail when he was young, but I was moved when he went to the academy, and I haven't been able to keep track of him since, Yugao said, but Tsunade was surprised. So curious just because you watched him several years ago. If I'm going to discuss my student with a relative stranger, I need a little more than that. Besides, you wouldn't want me to misread your motives.
Yugao got the threat, which is how it was meant to be, but she didn't show any signs of being scared. His mother taught me a few things before she got pregnant, she said. I would have liked to be more involved, but it was thought to be safer if I wasn't. Sandame-sama just gave me permission to hang out with him, and I thought I could tell him some things about his mom that other people wouldn't know. Well, Shizune spends as much time with him as I do, so what would you say about your Kahai? Teased Tsunade. Naruto was quickly liked by her student, who liked having someone pay so much attention to her. Tsunade had been teaching her longtime student for a long time, so she knew she had to fight the urge to treat him like a life-sized stuffed animal every time he cocked his head to the side and squinted when he was thinking. Shizune didn't care about what her master said because she had grown used to it over the years. She instead told Yugao, Naruto-kun sees the world as a series of puzzles. Some he solves quickly, others more slowly, but I doubt he ever gives up. This is why he'll make a good diagnostician. The problem is, he's so used to trying to figure things out that he often misses the times when he should just experience something. He looks up to the Sandame, loves Konohamaru-kun, and cares about his best friend, Hinata-chan, even though he probably doesn't realize how he feels about them. He can be very kind, never intending to be rude or mean, but recent events have shown that he can also be very unkind when the situation calls for it. Yugao could only grimly nod at Shizune's last sentence. She saw what happened because of how mean he was. Brad also likes to hang out with the ladies. Yes, I've heard rumors that he likes the fairer sex. I worry that Kakashi and Jiraiya-sama will have a bad effect on him. Yugao nodded at Tsunade's correction. Oh, yeah, that will be something to stop, but I mean he really likes women. I don't think it's a coincidence that most of his friends are girls. Is there anything else that I should know? Yugao asked both doctors if they could help, but they both said no. She had to make a few more stops before she was done getting information. Kakashi got to where the battle, if it could be called that, was happening. The three ninja that harmed his cute, little students were riddled with Senbon and unconscious. He was surprised by that because Naruto had told him that Haku was a fighter with a lot of skill. But it looked like she beat up the three felled ninjas before him. Haku stood before the copy ninja looking very innocent, even though he had just seen a lot of violence. It was a little bit scary. Haku-chan, give me a report, Kakashi said in a casual way. I saw the three of them going to the cabin, so I stopped them. They tried to fight me, so I had to use more force, she said. Are you sure all this had to happen? Kakashi asked, doubting her answer. Very. Hataki-san. Okay. That's good. Why don't you go back to the cabin? I'll teach these young men how wrong they are to act so badly. Hataki-sama, they are unconscious, Haku said. Kakashi asked Haku with a smile, then it will be a short lesson, won't it? This was a rhetorical question. She just left by Shunshin and let the strange man do what he wanted. Kakashi went back to keeping an eye out for the three missing ninja with light skin and blonde hair. He knew them, and they were all well known. The Lightning Brothers were the only ninja to ever go missing because they were too dumb to figure out how to get back to Kumo after a mission. I just wanted to get rid of them, which is why he put up the burn notice. Now, what to do with you poor devils? You aren't worth enough to bother with a bounty. You can't possibly know enough to use for information. Anything you did know, Jiraiya is currently making it moot. And you hurt my team. Decisions. As Haku got closer to the cabin, she could hear birds chirping in the distance. Yugao walked into the bar, which was barely lit. It was dark, not too big, and both the people who worked there and the people who went there knew how to keep secrets. She just hoped that her target was sober enough to be useful or at least a little bit clear-headed. He wasn't hard to find, even in a place with little light like where she was. He just gave off an air of royalty, as the leader of the Hyuga clan should. What was unexpected was his company, several of the other clan heads. Yugao walked up to the shared booth and gave the clan leaders a small bow when they looked at her. "I'm sorry to bother you, but could I talk to you for a moment, Hiyashi-sama?" "Yugao-san," Hiyashi said to greet him. "Unless it has to do with Hyuga, I'm sure anything you want to talk about with me can happen right here." In reality, he was drunk and didn't want to get up. "If you're sure," Yugao responded, and the man nodded while Choza offered her a seat. "I'd like to know what you think of Uzumaki Naruto-kun. Hinata and he are friends, and I just wanted to know what you thought of him." Tsume was curious and asked, "Why are you so interested in the puppy?" Hiyashi laughed and said, "Be careful, Tsume. If Yugao-san answered that, she'd have to kill most of us at this table, and I like my head where it is. It makes me look royal." Shikaku said, "When you drink, you say nice things about yourself. It's annoying." "Hiyashi-san seems to know more than he should," Yugao said. The order that was given to the Anbu and Jiraiya did not get out to many other shinobi, clan heads or not. How he knew of the Sandame's orders to silence anyone that questioned, investigated or implied anything remotely true about Naruto's heritage was to be removed with extreme prejudice. Some people might think it's cruel to give this order to the village's best assassins without telling anyone else, but the Sandame thought that if he didn't tell anyone not to look into Naruto's family history, they wouldn't ask why they shouldn't. Hiyashi started to say, "I wish I could say I was a great ninja," but the Sandame already knew that a few years ago. Now, about Naruto-san, but he was cut off. Inoichi said, "He's an uncontrollable pervert who wants my baby girl. He even got my wife to like him. I don't understand why Hiyashi lets him spend so much time with Hinata. We should work together, Hiyashi. We should work together to save our little girls," Inoichi said as he slammed his drink down. "The overprotective father thing would work better if you and my child weren't juvenile soldiers, Inoichi. Have some self-respect," Hiyashi chastised. "Yes, there are a lot of things I can't protect my daughter Ino-chan from, but boys, I can do that. And look, I wrote the psychological profile on Naruto, and it made me hate this village for a long time. He doesn't get my daughter's virginity because of that." Tsume barked, "Shut the hell up, Inochi. You can't choose who your child sleeps with when she wants to, any more than you can choose what color her hair is, and you wouldn't even care if the genders were switched." Inoichi said, "I am at ease with my lies. You're typical guy," said the Inuzuka. "It's a problem that Hiyashi hasn't answered Yugao-san's question yet." "Right. I'm sorry," said the Hyuga. Yugao waved him off. "Uzumaki Naruto is our village's and my own greatest shame. I owe the young man because he was the only one who could talk to Hinata-chan when none of my methods worked." Tsume asked, "You mean being a hardass and then a harderass?" "Yes. She's changed a lot since they became friends, and it makes me worry less about her. I'm not happy that she likes a boy with a wandering eye, but I know better than to stand in the way of a Hyuga woman's desire. As for the boy, he's honest and polite, but never deferential, and I trust that if Hinata ever needed him for something, he'd come through for her." Shikaku pointed to his forehead and said, "Given your age, that must worry you." And it made Hiyashi stop and think. He didn't know how well the Uzumaki was ranked at seals, but he did know that the boy was very skilled. Hinata could be friends with Naruto as long as she didn't try to get him to break the caged bird seal. That was the only rule. He remembered how sad her eyes were when she gave up one of her deepest wishes. "A little," Hiyashi said. "Kiba said the puppy was strange, like it didn't feel anything or something." "He has feelings," said Inochi. "I'm too drunk to go into it, but he has them, and we're lucky he only has muted affect." Inoichi took 2 quick shots before continuing. "Damn kid deserved better. Cursed to have a father who loved the village more than him because he believed in the village that would let an orphan with no name be its leader. The will of fire. We pissed on it." "Wait, are you saying?" Tsume began, but Hiyashi cut her off. Then, the only sober ninja there, an Anbu, shut her up. "He isn't saying anything, Tsume. Right, Inoichi. PFF'd. Whatever. If we'd done things right, things would be different. If either of them were here and could come back and see what we did, you couldn't dig the graves fast enough. The table shook as they thought of chakra chains and teleporting ninja. Yugao left after getting what she came for, even if it wasn't much. She promised to never do that again. Haku looked at the flowers that were being given to her. The mix of red, yellow, and orange flowers went well with the setting at dusk. She also saw that the bouquet was wrapped in sealing paper. From what she knew, seals were related to water. She thought Naruto must have made some kind of seal that keeps water in, so there was no need for a vase of water. As she reached for the flowers, her eyes moved from the unexpected gift to the giver's blue eyes. Some people would think they were stupid, but she knew better. Free from judgment, yes, but never empty of meaning. Thank you, Naruto-kun. What have I done to deserve such a nice gift? Naruto squinted and turned his head to the side. Haku thought it was a surprise face because he didn't think she would ask why she was getting a gift. Hataki-sensei told me I should find a way to reassure you that I'm fine so that you'll be fine, she said. It didn't surprise the Hyoden user that he had noticed her change in behavior. She knew that Sai was right, and that she had been clingy to deal with her guilt. If she hadn't been so adamant about not killing, she wouldn't have let that arrow hit her, and Naruto would still be alive. I know you are, and I'm sorry for crowding you, Naruto-kun. I do not feel crowded, though I do not know what it is to feel crowded. I do not mind you being close, Haku. And what happened was not your fault. I should have seen to our security and did not. I was negligent and we were ambushed because of it. I subsequently failed to get all responsible, but should the opportunity arise in the future I will not fail again. We all share responsibility, Naruto-kun, Haku said in response. Even though he could have, most of the time putting down security seals after a mission would be too paranoid. It wasn't crazy to think that they were far enough from the base to be safe from retaliation, and having Jiraiya with them would scare off all but the most. Do you really believe that? Naruto asked, but it couldn't quell the realization Haku just had. No, I'm not used to being a friend. I was used to seeing myself as a tool for Zabuza, so being a friend is new to me. You and Sai-kun are dear to me, so if you get hurt, I feel like I've failed to do my job. But now I'm wondering something else. Wasn't it convenient that those sound ninja attacked when Jiraiya was meeting a contact? Haku watched as Naruto squinted as he thought. He quickly came to the same conclusion she had. Jiraiya's contact sold us out. I think it's possible, because the timing is too coincidental, and while I've heard of coincidences, I've never seen one. Naruto didn't answer, but Haku knew it was because the next steps were clear. Tell Jiraiya and set a trap for the burned contact. And since she had changed the subject, he wouldn't bring up what she had done recently. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You thanked me already for the flowers. Not for those, but they're beautiful. Thank you for being my friend and never judging me. Thank you for accepting me, Haku said, but her words were hollow and didn't show how she really felt. I hope Hinata-chan will forgive me, she said. Naruto was about to ask her what she had done wrong, but before he could say anything, he felt two warm, wet lips on his own. It was over as quickly as it had begun, but the Uzumaki couldn't say anything. He felt something strange on his face. Haku laughed as she ran her hands through his spiky hair, then turned away and walked toward the cabin. Even when Kakashi stood next to him, the genin did not wake up. Kakashi said to Naruto, "Your first kiss was with a cute girl. You make your sensei proud, Naruto-kun." Naruto could only respond with a small smile as he rubbed the back of his head. All he could think was that he should try to reassure his friends more often.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.